good. All right, well, good evening. I'd like to call to order the regularly scheduled January meeting for the Haymarket Planning Commission. Roll call, please.
Anthony?
Here.
Casanello?
Here.
Cottle?
Here.
And Carroll?
Here.
Jay Carroll?
Here.
Shannon?
Here. All right, if we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, moment of silence, please. All right, thank you. You may be seated. All right. First order of business we need to do is approve the minutes from the December 18th, the regularly scheduled meeting in December. So if you could look over those, please. All right, do I have a motion to accept the minutes for
Mr. Chairman, I
December
move
18th?
that we accept the minutes from the last meeting.
All right, thank you. A second? All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes accepted. All right, we're going to head into citizens' time. We have a couple things here tonight. We have citizens' time where you're free to speak on anything you would like. And then we're going to go, once that's done, then we'll go into the public hearing. So if you're here to speak to the public hearing, we'd like you to do it during that time. Just a couple reminders in general, and again, welcome. Appreciate you coming out on this chilly night. We're going to limit the speakers to 5 minutes to respect everybody's time. You will address the Planning Commission, not the public, please. And we would just ask that you would maintain proper decor. So really, when you come up to the podium, give us your name and your address. So really pretty simple, okay? And again, I appreciate you coming. It's always good to see people involved in their local government. So I wish we had more people. So with that said, would any citizen like to address for citizens' time? Well, we're going to talk citizens' time, anything other than what we're going to do on the public hearing. Okay? All right, seeing none, we will close citizens' time. All right, we have several public hearings tonight. The first one is ZTA 2017-001, 14845, 14851, and 14871 Washington Street rezoning application. So if you're here to speak on that one, if you again would just come up, state your name, your address, and limit it to 5 minutes, please.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive.
You know, I've got a lot of issues coming here tonight in the midst of the holidays and on very short notice to deal with this. And there's a lot of things going on in the Haymarket area, Dominion Power and a variety of stuff going on in the county, that having to expend resources on something that's not ready for prime time and is not ready for you guys to deliberate over tonight and come to a decision on is really sort of irks me. I've got a number of issues with the applications, and this is for all of the applications for the rezonings on Washington Street. I would note, firstly, that the applications were received on November 14th and November 6th, respectively, without a supporting narrative, without a site plan, without a general development plan that illustrates what use might or might not be constructed on those parcels, and no referrals to VDOT or the county, not even a courtesy one. I checked with the county planning office. In addition, each application is $1,000 light. Each application requires an additional $1,000 in fee payments to the town because they do not conform to the comp plan. They shouldn't even have made it this far without the proper payment and the proper documentation to go with them. It's part of the application packet and it's incomplete. There's no accompanying comp plan amendment. Again, the applications are for a zoning intensity that is above and beyond that contained within the long-range land use map that's part of the comp plan. It requires a comp plan amendment. Apart from saving the Watts house, there are no proffered conditions. No proffered conditions on uses, no proffered conditions on buffers, no proffered conditions on setbacks, nothing. There's no record of the rezoning applications, either in the minutes of the November 1st or the December 18th Planning Commission minutes. How'd the public hearing get set? Why are we here tonight if you guys are seeing it for the first time at the public hearing? The rezonings weren't referred by the town council until the 18th of December, fully a week after the first public notice was published. Who authorized the public notice? Who authorized the expenditure of the funds? How did that happen before it was even referred? What would have happened if it hadn't been referred? Public hearing notice doesn't indicate the density range of one of the proposed amendments or the general usage and density range as set forth in the comp plan on the other one. The staff report contains no analysis of the existing use and character of the area, no analysis of the sustainability or the suitability of the property for the various uses, no analysis of trends of growth or change, no analysis of current and future requirements of the town, nothing on transportation and its impacts, nothing on parking, nothing on the public service impacts, nothing on the environmental impacts, nothing on the conservation of the properties and putting them to their best use, and nothing with conformance to the comp plan and the CIP. All things that you guys are tasked with considering when you deliberate over these applications. The only justification is that of the applicant who intends to sell the properties. There's no analysis of the public necessity, health, safety, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice. That phrase should ring a bell to you guys. It's in the preamble to the zoning ordinance. It's also in the state code. The applications appear very, very one-sided and essentially demand the town subsidize the applicant's 401k and retirement plan or his ability to maximize the profit from the sale of his property. That's it. There's no delineated public benefit, no health benefit, no safety benefit, no convenience benefit, and no general welfare and good zoning practice benefit delineated anywhere within the application. It's not appropriate for the purpose of a rezoning, or for you guys' action, or for that matter, the town's action. There's likely to be a presentation tonight that will give you a revisionist history of these properties. I can state unequivocally, those properties are now and always have been designated R1. They were never downzoned. The long-range map has been changed in the past, but they did not undergo a town-initiated rezoning at any point. And I challenge anyone who makes that statement to present you with a shred of documentation, and I know it does not exist, that would support that from the town record. The properties are currently designated R1 on the zoning map and transitional commercial on the long-range map. That's a component of the comp plan. The applicants have requested B1 zoning, which is a higher intensity than both the existing R1 zoning and the planned TC zoning, thus making the applications non-conforming with the comp plan.
All right, sir, you
The
have
comp
30
plan requires that
seconds.
the land use areas be developed consistent with the comp plan's community design policies, and those areas be, for more intensive use, be redeveloped only as the land use plan dictates. I would suggest you have three options tonight. Ask the applicant to withdraw it, return it to the applicant as incomplete, or forward it with a negative recommendation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, someone else, please. Just simply come up, state your name, your address, and we would love to hear your comments.
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. Thank you and all of them for coming out in this cold weather. I would only be here if I thought it was absolutely necessary. And I'm probably the other side that he was talking about that was going to be presented. I was on the council many years ago when the entire Washington Street was planned commercial. Most of them got rezoned, all but 2 houses that joined each other. These are the only 2. Even me on the other side of them was rezoned many years ago, over 20 years ago. The next property after me, all the way to the edge of town, was rezoned B1. Only those 2 houses have been singled out. I had the pleasure of serving on the Planning Commission with Mr. Weir. I have seen people be discriminated against. Some treated one way, others treated another. Let me know when I have 30 seconds left.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
I'm just telling you, this has gone on way too long. I was here at the Planning Commission meeting when the recommendation was made for them to finally get their just treatment, and I believe it was in January 3 years ago, at least 2 years ago. They were trying to hold it off till February because they all know I go to Florida in February. Well, that year I didn't go. I stayed till it was done. And it went on up to the council, and it was recommended for them to get the same zoning that the first 2 houses on that street got. And yes, sometimes things didn't in those days get sent down to the county, so he's probably telling the truth about that. But everybody that was in that front office that didn't always send something down or sent it with the wrong signature on it, or the date and the signature didn't match, and I have copies of a few of those in my house, so don't get any ideas about coming in to get them. I'm just saying this. It's more than high time that those people get their just treatment. They've paid their dues. They don't need a traffic study because they already gave up their front lawn right up to their porch for the road. They've paid their dues. They've done their share. And what we really need to care about is not whether or not they're B1 zoned, but what they look like and what they're used for. And that can be controlled by the ARB. So I would recommend that you take advantage of making it fit in the town at that level. All along that side at one time were houses like those first 2, and they could still be there looking like that wood board type housing right up against each other because they'd all be zone B1, and it would make us look more like a town instead of a bunch of hodgepodge. So if we get them rezoned and developed and businesses in them and paying taxes in this town, will be way better off than if we keep fighting each other. Thank you for your consideration.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, someone else, please.
I'm Maria Rafferty, one of the owners of the 3 lots that encompass 2 of the 2 little brick houses next to Mr. Watts. I have to respectfully disagree with almost everything that Mr. Weir said. Having been,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Could you just give me your name one more
oh,
time?
I'm sorry, Maria Rafferty.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. As I was saying, I have to respectfully disagree with almost everything that he said, other than the fact that these were not actually zoned commercial. Other than that, they were planned future commercial before all of that process took place. People, for their own personal agendas, in this long-standing history of all this, downplanned them as only going to be residential only. They've been brought back to future commercial on the town plan because this, I believe, and it seems to be from all the actions that the town has been taking recently, that the plan is to make the whole street, Main Street, commercial. And I also believe that's why a few years ago, the town, through eminent domain, took the front piece of our property and put in a sidewalk, and they told me at the time the reason for that was that this is going to be a walking town, as many of the cute little towns are in Virginia. The plan was to be able to walk through all the commercial district. So again, that's in keeping with the idea that we're all going to be commercial and it's going to be a cute little walking town. We've had, I have my agent here who is looking at listing the properties. He's put the notice out there that they're coming soon. We've had a lot of interest from a lot of terrific businesses, and he can speak to that better than I. That's why he's here this evening, so you can hear something about that. We have talked about trying to do something with it and what our plans might be. At this point, it's been so long. I have kids that were babies, now looking at college. It no longer fits in my plan to turn this into something myself. But as he can speak to, there are a lot of people that have some interest in doing something nice with that. That would be in keeping with it being commercial and with having a walking town where people could walk down the sidewalks that were nice and the lights that you put in. My tenants that I've had in there, we've just lost another tenant that we had. They were residential tenants. Again, you know, they got street lights in their front windows and they're trying to go to sleep. You know what I'm saying? It's really, to be on the main street with the street lights shining in your windows, not conducive to R1. It doesn't even make any sense. That's all I have to say about that. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
My name is Laura Newman. I live at 14657 Red House Road. I'm part of that subdivision, but don't technically live in the town of Haymarket. So I'm here to speak against turning it into commercial. It's currently zoned residential, and even on the planned land use, it goes to transitional, not the B1 that they're looking for. There are plenty of places in town where you can still develop commercially. All across the street is wide open. The old bank building's open. All across from Shoppers Food Line. There's so much area available to develop commercially within the town of Haymarket. Why take away residential? You're never going to put it back to residential. We have homes that back to that. We're going to see an incredible increased amount of traffic coming into the neighborhood. It's going to negatively impact the community that we live in. You're going to take those homes back up all to residential. They're the only thing on that side of the street in that area that would be considered the RB1, B1. I think it should say residential, and at the very minimum, the transitional. I mean, if you allow the B1, you're allowed 50 feet and 4 stories. That would dwarf the houses that are behind them and really negatively impact the value of any of the houses surrounding it. It's residential. There's plenty of area for development for commercial within the town confines. Let's develop what we have, and then when there's a need proven for additional, then look at it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Scott Corbett with Linton Hall Realtors. I represent the Raffertys once the properties will hit the market. Since we listed the signs as coming soon in town, we have had a huge amount of interest, 100% of it commercial because of the location. As it being a walking town, we've had doctors call us, bakeries, delis, caterers, orthopedic surgeon, somebody that makes prosthetics, a pest control company, a stamped concrete company looking for a showroom, and I can say one of the big reasons is we have existing structures, and if you've ever been inside the homes, which I assume most of you haven't, they set up perfectly for offices. Somebody wouldn't have the expense of developing the land as raw into a business. So we've had overwhelming interest. Everybody loves the location. Everybody wants to be part of the town of Haymarket, the walk-in town. If you have any further questions, I'll be here till this is done. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments on ZTA 2017-001? All right, seeing none, we will close that part of the public hearing. All right, next one is ZTA 2017-002, 14841 Washington Street and 6802 St. Paul Drive rezoning application. So again, if you will come up, give us your name, your address, we would love to hear your comments. All right, we will close that part of it. Our third one is ZTA, 2017-003, a Dogs Day Out zoning text amendment application. So again, if you will come forward, give us your name, your address.
Good evening. Thank you for being here this evening. My name is Andrea Payne. Two addresses, 15073 Valhalla Court. Also, my husband Jim Payne and I are the applicants for Fayette Street, 6680 Fayette Street, for a Dogs Day Out Haymarket. As you guys know, we've been through quite some time, a lot of meetings, a lot of back and forth as to how this thing was going to proceed. We felt like everything was moving forward. Last summer, we got our sign-off and approval, and then come October, we were told that there were some issues with the zoning. So in response to that, we have created a text amendment change for you to review. We feel like it's pretty comprehensive and that we are protecting the town from anyone else coming in to try to do this that doesn't have the necessary means and is not protecting the town as far as the quiet scenario. We have an NRC rating established in there that basically states the place has got to be pretty much soundproof. No one's going to hear anything from the outside. The biggest issue that we understood that you had was that there would be dogs boarded overnight. The dogs boarding overnight are not going to cause any additional issues than what they are during the day. And additionally, the second floor apartment, which was in the previous ordinance and was left out when they did the change back in the spring, we added that back in, and that person would be a caretaker for the dogs overnight. They'd be a resident living in the apartment. We appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, anybody else for ZTA 2017-003?
Dottie Leonard, 14801 Washington Street. This particular applicant, I just happened to be here at the Planning Commission when they got approval, and there was reference to the apartment or an apartment where they would have helpers stay, possibly helpers stay. And then it was sent up to the council, and I heard it up there. But in your recommendation, when you made your motion to approve it, you said contingent upon the ARB being comfortable with what it looked like. And I went to the ARB meeting, and I really don't know those folks at all, but they have been very nice. And one of their issues at the ARB was that they didn't think it fit into the town. It was too flat. The roof was too flat. It just didn't appear good. And I agree with that. I've been an advocate for things looking like they go in this historic town. And I would even say that for the Rafferty's application, that I think it's important that that section of that street, if it goes commercial, look like it's part of our historic town. That's all I'll say on that one, but it's also important for this one. And they were very gracious. They redid their drawings, had brought their architect back to the drawing board, and added another floor, a lot more expense, to please the ARB, which I thought was remarkably grand of them. And then the issue comes up about their apartment again. I think that their heart is in the right place. They want to be a part of this town. And your motion had said, please the ARB. They pleased the ARB and got approved by them. That's all I'm going to say. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else?
Hi, I'm Debbie Powell, and I live at 15315 Gulfview Drive, and that's technically Haymarket, but I'm not in the town of Haymarket. I'm in Dominion Valley. So we moved here 14 years ago because of Haymarket being a small town that it is. I grew up in a small town. I enjoy the small town feel of Haymarket. And, you know, when you redid that shopping area across the street here on Washington with the House of Rock in there, I loved the fact that you kept that place and it stayed looking like a house. I love that house. I mean, I really wanted to walk in and wander around, but nobody would let me. But that's the kind of thing that I like about Haymarket. And the Dog's Day Out is one of those businesses that's different, and it's a necessity. I mean, we all have pets these days, and so many people have dogs. It helps to keep them from wandering the neighborhood, getting out of a fenced yard, any number of things. People want to take care of their dogs. We don't need more strip shopping centers, okay? We've got plenty of shopping, and we've got plenty of vacancies in existing stores around here. Not necessarily in Haymarket, but, you know, around here. So we need some variety in businesses, and I think a Dog's Day Out would be a very good addition to that. And having somebody in an apartment upstairs overnight is a wonderful safety factor all by itself. I mean, I do board my dog sometimes at a place. They don't keep anybody overnight, and that bothers the heck out of me. Because if there's something that happens, you know, nobody's there to know about it. So it's a high safety factor to have somebody living on site and making sure that facility is cared for. So I'd really encourage you to approve this and get it rolling. I'm waiting patiently, or maybe impatiently. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, anyone else?
Happy New Year. My name is Kirk Gillespie. I live at 4199 Benvenue Road in Haymarket, and I shamefully tell you that at 18 years in Haymarket, I have never stepped foot in this room before. So I'm sorry. I will be more involved. But I'm very supportive, and I would come out on a night like this for something I believe in. I've watched Andrea and her dream unfold as they have taken their life savings with a dream to create something for local dogs and the pets in this area. And everybody loves their dog, and they want their dog to look good. And I know that hearing their plans, that they want to comply, and they feel like they've done everything they've been asked to do, and it keeps getting confusing. And that starts to rain on your parade, and your dream starts to squelch, and money goes down the drain. And I know they're going to employ some great kids to help them. I know that they're going to create something very professional. I know Andrea's heart. They are going to make this something very, very special for the town. And I may even get a dog just because of it. So, I do encourage you. I can't imagine if you did a pro and con list, there would be any cons that would make a reason for them not to be able to pursue this dream that they've worked so hard on. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Trinka. I live at 5449 Sherman Oaks, outside of Haymarket proper. I'm in Piedmont off of Highway 15. I have 2 pets, and we have lived in Haymarket for over 12 years, and we had a 3rd pet that passed away a couple of years ago, and all of our dogs have been boarded over the years in boarding facilities as well as in our own home, because we didn't have the opportunity of having boarding facilities close or nearby where we could leave our pets. We have small animals, toys, as you might say, that need little extra love and attention. Our youngest little baby is about 7 pounds, and he needs to be around other little dogs. So to know that he is in a special place where he would be cared for in a proper facility where he would not be alone, to know that there was security in that facility at night would certainly give me peace of mind as I travel. I'm actually going to be a grandmother in February, and I'm going to be traveling a lot back and forth to Texas. And to know that I had a place that I could be able to board my animals would give me such peace of mind. And I love Haymarket. We've lived here for over 12 years, but I'm very sad to see that this town has not grown as I know it can, and that there's so many opportunities. I've seen Andrea and Jim work so hard to answer every request of this committee. So I just encourage you to approve this facility and get it built. It's going to bring more jobs to your town. It is going to bring more money to the town of Haymarket. It's going to bring some very happy people, because a lot of us have pets. We want to see them boarded. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good evening and Happy New Year. My name is Mir Residus, 3674 Osborne Drive. My wife and I were living in Haymarket for the last 15 years when there weren't that many business here. You know, when you see and are friends with folks that you see how their heart are into something and how much they're committed. And there's a difference between commitment and being involved. And I've seen Andrea and Jim, how committed they are to this and how much they want this business. So I'm here tonight, my wife and I, we're here tonight to support them and ask the board to go ahead and approve their request as soon as possible so they can start building their business and in return help the community that we live in and the pet owners. I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, Happy New Year. I'm Mary Beth Rosato. I'm from the other side of the tracks. I live in Gainesville, and my address is 13820 Cornwall Station Court. And I don't have a dog. I have been traveling most of my life, and there's no way that I could have a dog because there is no place to put a dog. But that's not really why I'm here. I'm here because Andrea and Jim, I've only known them probably maybe 9 months or a year. But I know people, and I can read them very quickly. And their hearts they're gold. They've done everything and then some. This is their passion. This isn't just, you know, there's a difference between making a living and having a calling. This is their calling. And I think when people are in their strength zone and in their calling, only good things can happen from it. I love their concept. I think it would be fabulous for Haymarket for revenue. I think it would be great for the town of Haymarket. You would make a lot of people happy, and they've given their life savings to do this and to be sidetracked. I don't know all the details, but I know that their hearts really are in the right place, and they have done everything that you've asked them to do. And I would just ask you to push it through. They're amazing people, and I think they would be great give back to the community. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
My name is Todd Jarvis. Where do I live? I live in the 5731 Janney's Mill Circle over in Dominion Valley. Just sitting here and watching this, I've watched it from the outside, and it just seems that when you have a quality business with quality people, why would you not want to attach yourself to that? Why wouldn't you want to make your town better? Why wouldn't you want to have that kind of influence that would attract other quality people? it's not as if it's a boarding kennel that is, wrapped by chain link fence and dogs are running around barking. This is an amenity that is premium, and it fits, I think, the future of the town. It's the kind of amenity you have to. People love their pets. If people know that you have this premium amenity in your town, it brands your town as something unique. And so standing on the outside, I can't imagine why it wouldn't be approved. But that's just me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
I didn't do it. Occasionally I've gone over the speed limit in Haymarket. I'm really sorry. Anyway, my name's Sheila Tomlinson, 58237 Seven Pines Court. I'm actually on the other side of the tracks too, in Dominion Valley. But this is my town. This is where I come to eat. This is where I come to shop. This is where I do my business. I am a PMP professional for 20 years, so I can speak to the professionalism of the Paynes. I can also speak to you about them as a person and their heart. And I can tell you that as they've gone through this struggle, I've asked them a couple of times, why Haymarket? There are other places we can do business. And they said, it's for our community. So that's why. So that's why you're going to see them continually bend over backwards for Haymarket. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Bob Weir, 6853 St. Paul Drive, an address that's actually within the town, and as a resident, it's impacted directly by the ordinances, not just this one, but all the zoning ordinances. I don't have an issue with the apartment as an ancillary use. I actually agree with the other arguments. But again, this is about process. It's about public perception. And I need somebody to explain to me how an application that got filed on December 8th got published less than a week later and then referred after the publication. Same issue as the other rezonings. This isn't being done properly. And it leaves it open to challenge. And quite frankly, I kind of feel like it's a bait and switch in this particular instance. When the debate occurred with regard to the rezoning, there were a lot of concerns about boarding the animals overnight. Boarding an animal overnight, semantics. It's a kennel. You can make it as pretty as you want. You can put in all sorts of language about how you're going to stop the noise and protect the neighborhood. But at the end of the day, it's a kennel. And a kennel, generally speaking, in almost every jurisdiction that I'm aware of, including Haymarket to this point, is an industrial use, and an industrial use for a reason. When the application for rezoning was heard, there were a lot of concerns about boarding the animals overnight, the noise that would be, the traffic that would be generated, and how many animals there would be. And that objection largely went away as a result of the ordinance that prevented it. They couldn't do it under the existing ordinance. And that's what they were rezoned for, was a use under that existing ordinance. So now it appears that there's an attempt to rewrite the ordinance to get a use that wasn't allowed for when they rezoned the property. That smells. That smells really bad to me. I've heard the justification that, well, Healthy Paws does that. Two things to note. Healthy Paws is a veterinary hospital. A lot of the stuff that they board, they have to board post-surgery. If they're boarding it otherwise, as an ancillary use to their veterinary business, that's the town's fault for not enforcing the zoning ordinance. And to use that as a justification for increasing the intensity of use in what is essentially a residential neighborhood, putting what is essentially an industrial use in there that people have already raised concerns about, is something you guys need to think really carefully about. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. Brandy Barney, 65 Sire Way, Warrenton, Virginia. I work with a number of the businesses here in the community, and I can certainly speak
to the heart and the time and the effort this couple has put into bringing something that the town doesn't offer. It's a beautiful, vibrant business. And I've heard arguments for and against. And one of the pieces is, does this fit Haymarket? Is this going to improve Haymarket? Well, I can guarantee you that a vacant lot with a vacant house does not improve Haymarket. And that's essentially what's being replaced. Is that correct? No house.
Ma'am,
So-
if you could address us, please, not
Yeah.
the audience. I
Sorry,
appreciate it.
There's so many reasons to encourage growth and development, and the right kind of development. It certainly needs to follow the rules. But it seems that the rules are an ever-changing treadmill when dealing in Haymarket. I worked with several clients that tried to develop and open businesses here, and they finally gave up, and they moved to other towns that want that business, and I hate to see that happening here in this town. It shouldn't be happening. This is money on the table for you and revenue for your citizens, for your residents. This property you're talking about is a half a block off the main street where, we've openly developed other businesses nearby that are vibrant and helping the town. There's very few arguments that are stable from a business perspective against this business. They're going to bring positivity to the community. They're going to bring more revenue to the community. And with that comes people paying attention to the other small businesses that rely on that traffic so they can grow and thrive as well. You either want to grow or you don't. It's pretty simple.
All right, thank you.
Good evening. My name is Shelley Wolf. I reside at 15505 Arnold Palmer Drive. Normally, I would not be out on a night like tonight. I drug my 5-year-old out with their iPad because I actually believe in this business. I think that the town of Haymarket has changed. You have a lot of dog lovers now. And these people want to walk their dogs up and down Haymarket, Main Haymarket Drive. I strongly encourage you to give this business a chance. Give a family that lives here, that breathes here, that pumps money here, a chance. There's only one of me standing here right now, but I can guarantee you there's 100 standing behind me because they're out with their kids right now and couldn't make it here tonight because of scouts or because of gymnastics or because of whatever sport. But they're here and they support this business. So I'm asking you, will you please support them? The residents want you to. Thank you. Have a good night. Have a happy new year.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Happy New Year.
Hi, my name is Greg Trinka. My wife was up here earlier. I live at 5449 Sherman Oaks Court in Piedmont, Haymarket, Piedmont. I'm just up here to say, I think it's important that a small community have diverse businesses in it. We moved here 12 years ago and decided to retire from the military here because we like the small town atmosphere here in Haymarket. I commute every day down 66 to go to the Pentagon, and I like coming back here because of the small town atmosphere here. We use the businesses here in Haymarket. There are other options. We go to Haymarket Bicycle Shop instead of going to Manassas to A1 bicycles. We go to Foster's here in Haymarket instead of going over into Gainesville to another burger place. There are options elsewhere to board dogs, but they're not convenient. We'd have to go out to Warrenton to board our dogs in a place that has a good atmosphere as far as I'm concerned, which if it's here in Haymarket, I don't have to go out of my way to board my animals. We like to shop local. And that should be important to the town. So if a new business, a diverse business that's going to allow, boarding of animals is available, it's going to be used. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for your service, too.
Good evening. I'm Paulina Stowell, and I live at 15740 Rothschild Court in Haymarket. And just wanted to thank you for listening to us. And I wanted to say how awesome it is to see all the support for the Dogs Day Out. I'm sorry, I am very emotional because Andrea and Jim are our friends. And I'm also going to speak from the perspective of a realtor. I'm a local agent, and I've been doing business in this area for 17 years. And I come across families with animals all the time, with pets, and I see a huge need for them to have a place where they can safely leave their pet, where they know where the pet will be taken care of. It's going to be a top-notch facility. Andrea and Jim are their hardest in it. They are pet lovers. They are very passionate, and we want to see this business here in this town because, again, there's a huge need for it. And we are all supporting them. We would love for you guys to let them open the business that we want in the town where we live and we do business and we support. And so please consider it and let this family open. Give them a chance, pretty much. Listen to all of us here supporting them and let them their dream come true here. Okay? Thank you so much.
Thanks, ma'am. All right, anybody else? We want to give everybody opportunity.
Good evening. My name is Dawn Jarvis. I live at 5731 Janney's Mill Circle in Haymarket. Again, it's in Dominion Valley. I just got to say that I think my husband and I, we moved here probably about 11 years ago, and we love where we live, and we love the town of Haymarket, the small town feel, and always was waiting to see when the town was actually going to kind of blossom and grow. And we've seen some movement, the sidewalks coming in, getting excited about that. And we're still waiting for that. And I think that having this Dogs Day Out in Haymarket is a phenomenal asset to the town. We used to live in Old Town Alexandria. It's a dog town. And I got to tell you, people love their dogs. You will be surprised at the influx that you're going to see here. We live in a community. We walk every day. Every morning we go for a walk, and everyone's out there caring for their dogs, walking at 5 o'clock in the morning when it's 20 degrees outside to walk their dogs. And they need a place for these family members to stay and be cared for. And I love the pains. If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be the pains, the heart and the soul that they're put into this project. And we've seen them go through that every step of the way. And we've been feeling their pain as well. And we know that if anything's going to be successful here in this town, it's going to be the pains providing this wonderful service that this community in Haymarket and its surrounding areas will use, because you have to travel pretty far to make plans for your animal to stay, whether it's during the day while everybody works and commutes to the Pentagon or wherever they need to do to take care of their loved animals, or to take a vacation and have some place for their animals to stay that you know that they're going to be cared for. You know that the Paynes are going to love on these animals. And the fact that there's actually going to be somebody there watching them and caring for them is a huge asset. Why do you want to bring their business somewhere else, out to Fairfax or Herndon or wherever you need to go? Why not here in the town of Haymarket? And when I see the plans that they've designed and what they did to change everything to accommodate, I'm just so excited to see that. That's what I've been waiting to see since I lived here, to see something come in. And I love how the architecture blends into the town. We love the history here. And I just highly recommend, and I hope that, with all of us coming out here and putting that, and I got to tell you, just like what the other woman said, with our neighbors, hundreds of neighbors would be here right now with their pets if they could speak. So I speak for them as well. And I think it's a huge asset. So I plead to you and beg of you that this is a huge asset. And I'm sure some of you have some dogs too. You have a great place to have them be boarded and taken care of during the day. So thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Ascari. I live at 4462 Spring Run Road. Actually, my address is Warrenton. but I'm in this unique position where Haymarket is actually closer to me than Old Town Warrenton. So I come this way, and this is where I spend my dollars. And I was so happy, actually, to hear Don reference Old Town Alexandria. I also lived there for many years, and it was amazing how the community, the businesses, and the residents coexisted and had a huge respect for one another. And when I think of the Paynes, I just know that they are going to be so respectful of their neighbors, both residential and businesses. And I just hope that they've done so much already in earnest to show that trust. They've extended that I just hope that you will approve it. This is a worthwhile business. And as a small business owner myself, I think that this is exactly what this town represents, is mostly small businesses. And I would just love to see us continue to support one another, because we really are the heart of this country, is small business. And so I hope you'll approve them. I hope you'll let them move into this community and provide a service and just be the good neighbors that I know they'll be. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hi, good evening. My name is John King. I live on Little John Court here in town. And I'll be honest, I didn't come here expecting to speak. I was curious about some of the things that was going on in my town, so I wanted to come see what was going on and listen. The only thing that I wanted to say, and I'm touched that people are coming here to support potential business in the town. And as a resident of the town, and this might not even be proper for me or the right forum for me to speak, but as a resident of the town, I just want somehow for it to be, when I hear everybody talking about this business potentially coming into town, the only thing I can think of is going to bed at 11 o'clock at night and hearing barking going on in my town and keeping me up. So again, it might not be the proper place for me to voice this, but I hope that in whatever thorough documents that have been turned in, that there's some thought to, and honestly, I don't even know where this business is going to go in town. I'm trying to figure out where. I've been a resident here for close to 15 years, and I still don't know all the streets and exactly where everything is. But I just would like for that to be taken into consideration at some point, is the noise part of it. I hear all these people talking about how it would be great, and I'm a dog owner, but I'm a dog owner and a resident in this town, and I just would not want it to be impacted by any type of noise. So I'm sure that's been addressed, but I just wanted to voice that as a resident of the town. That's all.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right, anybody else like to speak?
The beauty of having you on webcast is I was just watching you about 3 minutes ago. So, Marshawn Schneider, 14811 Rising Sun Lane. In terms of Dogs Day Out, I really look at this text amendment as a clarification for the many negotiations and discussions that we had before associated with the rezoning and the site plan. Certainly with the transition of staff between my term as zoning administrator and Emily's term now, I believe some of the discourse was lost, or some of the negotiation was lost. And so pouring through the minutes and the records, I think it was clear that they had laid out their intent. I think in terms of performance standards, we tried to address noise, we tried to address screening, we tried to address design, having indoor boarding, if it is to be overnight, would be indoors and would not have anyone outside in the outdoor run. So I think affirming that intent, given the number of mitigations that they're proposing, I think would be sufficient to mitigate any negative impact on its neighbors. Don't think we'll add any more additional traffic generation. But again, I really consider this as just what should have been addressed with the zoning ordinance rewrite more specifically was not. And so this allows a better clarification. Dog daycare is kind of a fairly new phenomenon. I could equate it to data center that I deal with up in Loudoun County. 10 years ago, most people didn't know what a data center was, or at least define it as a use. Same as with doggy daycare. It's not truly a dog parlor. It's not in true essence a kennel. It's really a hybrid of that use. And I think dealing with the Paynes, when I first met them was 3 or 4 years ago, and they were dying to get into Haymarket. They were looking at Payne Lane. They were looking at John Lombardozzi's property over the Haymarket Industrial Complex. This is someone who spent a lot of time and effort in trying to locate in the town. And compared to some of the other applicants I deal with in my profession, they've spent a lot of time trying to be a good neighbor and do recommend that the commission support this text amendment. So, thank you. Sorry to be rude, but I had to go back home. So.
Drop and run. Thank you. All right, anybody else? I don't want to belabor it, but if no one else to speak, we have a lot to do. All right, I'm going to close the public hearing, and we are going to take a 5-minute recess, and we will reconvene. Yes, ma'am.
Before we take our recess, can I please ask that you read the
I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
One
Thank you.
email into the record? Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Okay, this is Wednesday, January 3rd at 4:11 p.m. To Shelley Kozlowski, PC public hearing, January 3rd, 2018. I have an appointment and cannot attend tonight's meeting. I'm sending this to the town hall to be included. Any comments? Please pass to the chair of the PC and include in the record. I, Linda Childress, submit that I do not support the rezoning. The impact to the Main Street, Route 55, Washington Street, traffic impact. The lot sizes do not support commercial parking allowance. The amount of empty commercial space not currently being utilized. The water issues with it being on wells should be considered. The direct impact to the residents of Madison Court. The fact that the previous attempt was sent back to the drawing board and the owners were allowed to continue advertising the proper as commercial seems out of the scope. The appearance is that the town is acting for the good of the one owner versus the residents of the town. The fact the mayor's family is directly involved with the real estate company handling the property is in question. We have an election coming up in the spring, and since this carries such an impact for the town and the residents, we residents should be allowed to vote the issue. Sincerely, Linda Childress. So if you could enter that into the public record. And with that, we will take a 5-minute recess. All right, I'm going to call the meeting back to order, the Planning Commission. So we're going to go on to new business now. And the new business, first thing we're going to address is rezoning staff report, comparisons of zoning districts. We're good, right? All right, Ms. Lockhart, you're up.
I'm sorry. I just put chocolate in my mouth. I'm sorry.
Do another one?
No. So I've provided this rezoning staff report so that you guys can do a little comparison of what's currently existing and what they're asking for, but also so that you can look at the zoning ordinance restrictions and see that even if we rezone this, we still have other measures that we can implement to further restrict what can go there, meaning the parking. We do require a certain number of parking spots per square footage based on the type of use. You guys are all very well aware of this, as well as general site regulations. We have setbacks. I know a concern is that these back up to residential properties on Madison Court. And we have a 25-foot setbacks behind these homes, so All of these things will still be taken into consideration when a new tenant wants to occupy this property, if it goes under a commercial use. We also further have our ARB, which helps protect us on exterior modifications. They can't just tear it down and build something new overnight. We have these regulations, we have these restrictions, and we have our ordinance set in place so that we can protect our town and really see for the best of everyone, all the residents. So this is so that you guys can just review that again.
All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, any discussion on this?
On the difference between the B1 and the transitional commercial, it's still commercial, transitional commercial, and that's in our planned land use map, correct?
Correct.
In our plan map. So for transitional commercial, you are allowed to have a townhouse, a group home, a single-family dwelling, or a religious assembly. The B1 doesn't allow those things, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Another thing that I noticed is someone had mentioned medical offices. The transitional commercial allows medical offices, but the B1 does not.
Correct.
Also, the transitional, you could do a greenhouse, life care facility, guidance services, and in the B1, we could have things like a hotel, liquor store. What were some of the differences? And otherwise, there were really not a lot of differences.
Correct.
So I just wanted to clarify that because I'm thinking that the transitional commercial might actually be a better option for the property use. That's my comment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree with that in that the transitional commercial is commercial, and the zoning, first of all, that's the planned land use map. It is residential, but the plan long-term was to be transitional commercial. So it's in conformity. Instead of changing the zoning by two clicks, as it were, from residential to transitional to B1, you would just be changing it one, and you'd be in accord with the planned land use. In addition to the medical offices that are allowed in the transitional commercial, and business doesn't allow it, business does allow, in addition to the hotel and the liquor store, it allows emergency shelters, refuse collection sites, fast food restaurants, that I'm not sure that I see, if somebody were to buy these properties and buy them all together, you could actually use them for one site, for one of those businesses that might not be, that would be by right. That would not be, I know the Architectural Review Board would have a stay, but these are by right allowed on the business B1 classification. So that would be a difficulty in the town with dealing with that, versus the transitional commercial does not allow those few. So I'm more in favor with a zoning to transitional commercial in keeping with the planned land use.
May I, real quick, the emergency shelter, recycling center, refuse collection, religious assembly, those businesses do require a special use permit to go before Planning Commission and Town Council as well. So just to.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
One of the, I have to agree with the comments that was being made. One of the things I like about transitional commercial is low-intensity commercial, something where you're not going to have major traffic. The staff recommendation was you had suggested proffer statement excluding certain businesses. Was that ever provided?
No, sir.
Okay, but it was requested.
It was suggested. Proffer statements are voluntary, so we cannot force anyone to do them. So it was suggested to them.
The businesses that, I'm sorry, I forgot Scott's last name with the Realtor. He talked about, some of them fall under B1, and some fall under transitional commercial, I believe. Is that correct? Some of the businesses that he mentioned that he's been getting calls on. And I can understand people wanting to buy that, that land, because this is, this is Haymarket. So I can understand businesses wanting to come in. I like the ideal of it being businesses and keeping Washington Street business. And the only concern I have, and I know you and I spoke about it briefly, is the setback is 25 feet from the residences behind the properties. Right now, I think there's no wooden privacy fence there, I believe. That would be one of my, of course, I'm getting ahead of the game, should this even pass, should we go there with ARB and then with the Planning Commission and Council, is, to see that upgraded, a better fence put back there for the homeowners, because I know what their concerns are, and I understand that. So I'm looking, I think more of the transitional commercial, personally.
As I understand the application, it is not to make this particular parcel transitional commercial. It's either residential, which it is right now, despite the fact that there are signs that say commercial. They want to move to a B1 zoning.
And we've already had the comments. I appreciate it.
My point is, before this commission tonight is a decision whether or not to forward your application or this application to the town council. It's not up to us to decide what should or should not be part of your application. You have made the application. We are simply making the judgment that probably this particular application may not pass, because we feel strongly that there are certain shortcomings in the application. And as a B1 versus a PC, it doesn't really have that much of a chance. I don't want to speak for the other members of this panel, but basically that's the sense that I'm getting from their comments. But I must also caution ourselves here, we are not to suggest that it be a TC recommendation. It's simply a B1.
Either we make the recommendation or we don't.
Precisely.
B1.
All right, other comments?
I support for the transitional commercial. I really don't feel like B1 on that area.
All right, the staff here, I'm reading staff recommendations. Staff has suggested the applicant that a proffer statement excluding certain businesses uses the B1 zoning district main and providing a buffer transition between Town Center B1 zoning district and the neighboring R1. Staff supports the proposed rezoning application based on the above criteria and recommends that the Planning Commission forward the application of the Town Council with a recommendation of approval. So could you elaborate how you all came to that conclusion?
So in looking at the uses and doing a comparison and then considering how we can further regulate the property, with the other requirements we have when new tenants or new businesses come to town. That's how I came to this recommendation. I do understand after hearing kind of our residents come forward and talk to us about their concerns that transitional commercial may be a better fit here. I think that we do really need to keep in mind the uses that can be done by right, special use between transitional commercial and the B1. But looking at the surrounding properties across the street, they have B1. They back up to townhomes. They have, if you're on the same side of the street as the brick homes and the Watts property, right to the left you have Madison Corner Shops, and you have another home that's been boarded up, but those are both B1. So I think we need to consider that we already have B1 on that block, and then a little further down you have another home that's currently a resident, but it is also zoned B1. So looking at what our overall plan is, if we want commercial up and down the street, we just need to see what fits best. If it's transitional commercial, I understand and I can support that as well. And if it's B1, I understand as well.
What house is it that's B1? Because you're educating me on this one.
Mhm.
I should already check this. That's on the other side of the property, you said?
To which side? Further
We have the
towards-
three lots there.
Yes, so you have the Watts, the Raffertys, and then there's an empty home that's been boarded up that's B1. You have another one on the
That
corner.
is B1,
Correct.
boarded up home is already
Yes.
B1.
Then you have another one on the corner that is Madison Shops. The front of the shop is not currently open. However, the back of the shop, she has a tenant. And then if you go beyond...
Is that B1?
Correct. And this is right by the old BB&T. So the old BB&T is here, and you have Madison Street, and then you have Madison Corner Shops. And you count down. And then across the street, you have two empty lots. For Haymarket Day, we use them sometimes to put things back there. Those two empty lots that are right beside Healthy Paws, those are also B1.
So it's just those three lots that are not B1. They're TC. Everything else is B1
Correct.
on the street.
On the corner across from the Watts home, on the other side of St. Paul Drive, I believe it is, that is a residential home. That's the first home in Green Hill Crossing that you come to when you turn in. And on the other side of that home, that home has some fences and everything. On the other side of that home, you have Dottie's home, which is a B1.
I mean, from my perspective, we've spent a ton of time B1 transitional. From my vantage point, why would we single those out transitional when everything around them is B1? I mean, I think we're going to have a very hard time justifying. And hey, before I finish my comments, can you, so we all make sure we're in succinct here, explain the difference between by right, so we don't leave anything to chance, if you will. So explain to the commission the difference between by right. I think we all know what SUP, I'm fairly certain we all knew by right, but just for clarity.
So by right uses when someone purchases one of those properties, if they purchase it commercial, they are allowed to do any of the commercial uses that are listed in our zoning ordinance. When they apply for their zoning permit as a new tenant or business, we will check the square footage and what they're going to do, and we're going to make sure they have enough parking. We're going to check setbacks. We're going to check all the other things we have set forward in our ordinance, including occupancy, so forth. And then the special use permit, if you buy one of those properties and you decide that your use doesn't fit and you want a special use, you can do it based on what's in our ordinance listed. It's not open to anything. We do have restrictions on what can be special use. That then comes through Planning Commission and Town Council, and a public hearing for both.
All right, thank you. I thought a lot about this and way before tonight, because it's something when I was on the town council, we spent a lot of time, and then previous planning commissions, this current one. I mean, the size of the lots alone would be a limiting factor that what can go in there. With 25-foot setbacks, and then the parking, I'm not, trying to convince, I'm just trying to bring, the parking is significant, because per square footage, you have to have so many parking spaces. And am I correct in saying that if a business went in there, it would have to have a VDOT study, or no?
That I would have to get back to you on.
Okay, and then certainly the ARB is going to have to approve anything. So there are a lot of safeguards built in along the way. I guess from my vantage point, why are we going to single out these properties and limit them?
Could I just make one suggestion?
Sure.
That you look at the other two properties that are B1 now as a justification for making B1 and the other three. I mean, those are palatial by comparison.
Well, I'm just raising the point, is that there's B1 all up and down there. Why would we take and carve these out? We're not going to determine, first of all, we're recommending whether we do or not. We don't have the final say. Second of all, whoever were to buy that, by the size of the lots, is going to be extreme. Like, for example, I've heard some people say, well, you could put a hotel in there because it's in the B1. There's no way in this world a hotel's going to go in there. I've heard, 7-Elevens, and I guess my point is, I think we need to be very careful. It's like a lot of comments we heard tonight, the emotional component. We need to step back and go, what is the factual component of the zoning plan? We can't get caught up in the emotional aspect. We need to just take a step back and look at the big picture. And to me, and this is my perspective, having studied this out, not that you all haven't as well, and obviously I value your opinion, but how would we justify that being transitional commercial when it's totally surrounded by B1?
It's also surrounded by residential in the back.
Right.
And the long-term town plan, I just remember the course we took on zoning by the state. It said be very careful when you change zoning. And to go two changes in zoning is definitely dramatic, when we've even heard Mrs. Rafferty say she'd be happy with transitional.
Right.
And what is by right and transitional, we're looking not just for today and tomorrow, we're looking for whoever buys the property when it's resold in 20 years. What's by right will still be by right in 20 years and will be associated with whatever the zoning is in 20 years. So it's not just a today decision, and I think that's why the course said be very careful when you change zoning. To change zoning one way from residential to transitional still allows commercial, still basically acknowledges the future of the town. But when you go B1, you're making a much bigger step. And there's part of me that saying we need to be cautious here because of the people who live behind it. I know there's a 25-foot setback, but I've sat in meetings here where people have wave setbacks. And people who live behind that have property that they value, and and the right to the privacy of their property and the value of their property. So that's why I guess I feel conservative on this issue in terms of the transitional.
Right, and I appreciate that. I mean, having lived in this town for almost 25 years now, not that that gives me any more say than somebody that's lived here for 25 days. I'm not implying that. But part of the thing is a lot of times decisions were made for the here and now, and we do need to look long term. I totally agree with that. What's this town going to look like 20, 30 years from now. It looks a whole lot different from Gossam Store when I was a kid before 66 was built. And I think that the trick is, if there is a trick, is to preserve the hometown feel in 2018, soon to be 2020. And for those of us that, I remember when McDonald's went in, it was going to be accidents, and it seems like every time we've endeavored to do something, but traffic's coming whether we build something or not. And I'm not necessarily saying that B1's right, but we need to nail this, and we need to have a solid rationale of why we do it.
It's really got me both ways. I'm not opposed to it being either TC or B1 so much as I am. Again, I have the concern of the residents.
Sure.
Back there. You brought up a very valid point, and it's what, in fact, I was talking to my wife about it. I just drove down there yesterday and just sat there and looked and just tried to imagine what could go in there, because this is a big decision.
Sure.
It's a big decision for the town, but it's a big decision for these residents, for our residents too. I am all about building this town. I'm the junior member in the town here with not even 2 years yet.
But let me clarify, you're no different than anybody.
Oh, I understand that.
I don't buy this. I've lived here 50 years, so I get two votes and you get one. It's not how it works.
I can certainly appreciate that. I'm just saying, I just see what, the potential for this town. And I mean, now's not the time to talk about it, but the fairgrounds and everything, what could have. I love the idea of this town building. I love the idea of Washington Street being business. I love the idea that it's a walking town, because it is a walking town. I walk all the time around here, as I see all of you do the same. I guess I'm looking too at, and I know I'm beating a dead horse, as you brought up another good point, is everywhere's B1 except for 3. What would be our logic there of singling those out to, for TC? I'm not sure, what the justification would be, because it's like you said, you can't build a hotel there. And I'm looking under these B1s, and there's a lot of these businesses they could not do there. And as far as a VDOT study, it depends on what type of business goes in and what type of entry and exit way you have. And then it could require a VDOT study, not underneath me, another office. So I'm just kind of on the fence there. I think I'm probably leaning more personally, again, for the justification we just talked about the B1. And let me say again, primarily because of what can or cannot go in there.
What would you, as staff, say, because obviously you all have recommended to us that we recommended up to the town council, who again will make the final decision, although we play a very critical role in doing our due diligence of what goes up to them. Why do you all feel strongly that it should go? Mrs. Carroll brings up a great point. We're upzoning 2 levels here from residential, which, in my estimation, should never have been residential in the first place. It should have been changed years ago. And, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're where we're at this point in time. So why do you feel that, based upon what Mrs. Carroll said, which are all very valid points, and Mr. Carroll and others here, what would be the hazards for us upzoning at 2 levels as opposed to 1?
So looking at the TC versus the B1, all of our front, well, let me start with the side yards and the rear, the setbacks are the same. When you have TC, you have a 10-foot setback on the front. This doesn't quite make for as walkable of a town, In a B1, you have a 5-foot setback. Your business is going to be closer. You're going to be able to walk down the sidewalk and walk upstairs, walk right in. You know, this creates that walkable feel that we're aiming for. Comparing the uses, you can do more residential in the TC. However, the B1 still allows for your certain accessory apartment. We have these other commercial uses, and as you guys were mentioning, these lots are small. By the time you go and try to park a business there, let's just say, you know, there's 1,000 square feet in one of these homes that can be used as an office business. Well, right there you can only have 4 parking spots. So it's going to be a small business. It's not going to be a huge business there. There's just so little land to work with already that that's why I looked at the B1 and recommended this, because the uses, I know you can never say never. There are always possibilities, but it's not ideal to put a hotel there. There's just no room to park it. As for the backyard, they do have existing fences, and Ms. Carroll, I know you mentioned you've sat on this commission when they've waived setbacks, they've waived those landscaping waivers and, you know, buffer yards, and that's up to you guys in the future. I think that's something that we all need to keep in mind. If a new business comes in, we just have to think back to this night, if we approve it, that we made this decision based on the certain regulations and restrictions.
Yeah, the only thing is, let's say it's 5 years down the road and you don't have the same people.
Right.
I mean, they're going to look at a videotape. So I appreciate what you're saying, but it's not apples to apples, because it could be, and more likely will be 6 or 7 different people. And I think that's been part of the issue in this town for a long time. The personalities that sat on the boards made the decisions. The more we can get into writing in these zoning text amendments is going to take personalities out, and the law or whatever's on the books is going to make the final decision. And that's been an issue for a long time.
And we're also talking about the 2 wonderful little, I always think of the brick houses as like 1950s Virginia, but there's nothing to prevent somebody from buying all 3 lots and using all 3 lots for one big business. And that big business would have in its backyard the current homes of all the people, the residences. And they would put up with that business that would allow higher businesses, higher building, and it would definitely impact their property values. So I'm just going to throw that out there, because we're making a decision. I mean, that's why I think I'm conservative with the zoning. The land use said to me transitional, and that was a long-term, way before, I think that's 2008. We weren't even living in Haymarket then. The plan in the 2008 land use was transitional. It is still commercial. It doesn't deny by right many things. It still is a commercial specification, but it's a more, let's say, restricted one. And when they define the commercial, the transitional commercial on our own pages, it calls for low-intensity commercial uses to serve as a distinct transition between low and moderate-density residential areas and high-intensity commercial uses within the neighborhood, town center, et cetera. And I think it would meet that need. It's not, I'm not being anti-business. I'm being, I think, pro-Haymarket 20, 30 years down the line, looking at it saying, it's a walking town, it's lovely. And I'd like it to develop that way.
What are the height restrictions? I don't have all that right in front of me, between transitional and B1.
In the transitional, less than 35 feet in height from grade, and all buildings not more than 2 stories above grade, and B1 is 50 feet.
So in essence,
That's
you're
4
talking,
stories.
Right, you're talking a little bit taller, considerably taller.
Someone did
2
buy it.
stories.
Yeah.
2 stories.
Versus 50.
Versus 4.
And if somebody bought all the property, then
But even if they bought all the property,
They would have to vacate the property line to take
would still be considered individual lots unless property lines were vacated to make it one lot.
But somebody could technically do that.
I'm not sure, I'm not familiar enough with the ordinance to know if you can do you can vacate a property lot line, that's an administrative process, if that's for the planning commission for consideration.
But you would still have the same setbacks. You would still be limited in the footprint of a building you could put on there. You would still have to have parking to support that business. Do we know exactly how deep those properties are? I mean, I've walked by them 1,000 times. You have any estimate of how deep they are?
I do not.
All right, so I'm hearing, so right now we have this in front of us. It's B1 or nothing the way it's currently presented to us. If, and I'm just talking if, let's say we denied pushing it forward, they went back and submitted transitional commercial, then what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that's in keeping of the 2008 land use long-term plan for the town. Let them follow the process and honor what, I have no problems with that. I have no problems with the commercial development. And it's just not my thoughts. That's just how I feel. I think I put myself into living in the houses behind it versus 35 feet versus a 50-foot building in front of you. I just feel that's a whole different Haymarket that I bought into if I own that house.
I think it drastically changes St. Paul's, at least the first few homes on the right-hand side of St. Paul's Street are going to be impacted. No matter what we decide, they're going to be impacted. If it were TC or if it was B1, I think there'd be far less ramifications for those homeowners if it goes to TC.
And I know I'm waffling back and forth. I agree with what you just stated. Again, 20 feet's 2 stories. That's a big difference. I like the idea of it being commercial. I truly do. But I just think the transitional commercial, I think right now with what I'm thinking, that's what I would recommend versus a B1. And a lot of it has to do, again, the height of the building. And again, I keep thinking that one gentleman that came here that spoke the first time this came up several months back, of how it affects his home and the first couple homes. So I am 100% for commercial. I just think with what I know right now, it would be transitional commercial, in my opinion.
I want to stick transitional commercial from the beginnings because 4-story building, the small lot is the value there behind those houses. So I prefer transitional commercial.
So, I'm sorry.
I think about when I take my walk almost every day and I walk down the sidewalk and walking in towards town, I think that I would like to see things kept low. And then as you come into the main part of town, things can start to get higher. But I just think it's a nicer feel when you first come in, you pass the church and there are homes. And the homes, in B1, they are homes. And to me, it makes it, what I like about Haymarket. And I think that it would be nice to do the transitional commercial and not have it be so high.
All right, so right now we're talking about ZTA 2017-001 14845, 14851, 14871 Washington Street rezoning applications. So we need to make sure we're keeping these distinct. So is it safe to say that we all agree that these should be upzoned from residential to transitional commercial? They should be commercial, but as a commission, we're not comfortable with taking it up to B1 primarily because of the height.
I don't think that's what we are called to state. I think it's whether or not we will pass this to the town council.
Right.
As it's written.
I understand that. But I'm saying, I'm just trying to get a feel, so depending on which way this goes, it's not up to us to tell the resident what to make application, but I do think we owe the applicant some direction through the town staff so they don't keep wasting time and money.
That they might make the suggestion that TC would be more likely to pass than B1?
Well,
at least the planning commission, yes.
I think we need to give them some guidance. I really do.
I think this conversation has given them guidance, frankly. I
Mrs.
think they're
Rafferty's
very, from what I've seen, they're very intelligent people, and they
I understand that.
they get the guidance.
But this is an open, frank discussion that we need to have, because we need to do it right. Whatever we decide to do to send it to the town council, it needs to be done right. This has drug on for far too long. I mean, I think about poor Mr. Watts. He didn't even live to see this transition, and he came here multiple times. And I think about that, too, when I walk by his home. And again, you got to take the emotion out, but we are people. So, all right. Any other discussion on this? All right, so what page are we on here? There's so many notes up here.
Page 21, the packet page 21 has the draft motion.
All right, for these three properties. So, would anybody like to make a motion?
Would that include the recommendation?
Well, I think we just need to stick with this strictly.
Commission, if you would like to make the recommendation to do a less intense zoning use, that
I believe you can make that recommendation for something less intense. We could verify it, but I think so long as it's not more intense than your recommendation, if it's less intense, what your transitional commercial would be less intense than the B1, I believe you can make that recommendation.
Should we take a recess to let you all make sure?
Well, do that yourself. If you could give us just a couple.
All right, let's take a 5-minute recess. All right, you good? All right, I'm going to call the regularly scheduled January 3rd Haymarket Planning Commission meeting back in session. Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to pass this around the dais just so everybody can see what is being proposed. Make sure we all are in agreement. So if you can look at that.
Page 21.
everybody's read, everybody's understanding it.
Okay, now is it legal?
Yes.
I make a motion to move rezoning application ZTA 2017-001 to amend the zoning map for 14845, 14851, and 14871 Washington Street forward to the Town Council with a denial for a B1 zoning and a recommendation for transitional commercial.
All right, do we have a second?
I second.
All right, do we have discussion? All right, let's do roll call vote, please.
Halsey? Passanello?
Yes.
Cottle?
Yes.
M. Carroll?
Yes.
J. Carroll?
No.
Shannon?
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, next thing we're going to look at is ZTA 2017-002 rezoning application. So if you all could look at that, please. All right, and this, we're over on page packet 30 for 002. All right, discussion. So we'll start over there on that side.
What we just did, right?
Well, this is a different,
I understand,
correct,
but
but this
same-
is, yes, sir.
Same.
Okay. Sir?
Yeah, been there, done that. I feel even more strongly in terms of this impact will have even a greater impact on the St. Paul's street community.
Okay.
I guess I know Ms. Shiro and Mr. Shiro and Ms. Lockwood feel that this motion is legit, and that's why I voted for it. But my only comment on this is the proffer statement on the historical house, Mr. Watts' historical house, and I have a great deal of respect for history, but I would like data to supply it, because old doesn't mean historical. I don't feel particularly historical on this dais. Just to sort of make it personal, if things are historical, and truly historical for Haymarket, then they have a special place in the town. I'm not sure it is historical. And I'm not sure it isn't. I just don't see any support for it. So I question the proffer statement without supplying information to go along with that.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, my other comments are, we've really discussed this, and I feel strongly transitional would be according to the 2008 plan land use.
Could I just make a hypothetical thing? Suppose someone buys that property, regardless of the zoning, would they be then accepting that this house has to stay if that's the way we were to pass this particular amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And really, that's when the ARB, but yes.
I love the fact that they wrote the letter. And it's my understanding that anything 50 years or older in the town of Haymarket is considered historical, correct?
Correct, including the two brick homes that were built in 1950. Watts House, I believe, was built wrong, but I think 1901. And that they used the back storage shed for vehicles, so it does have some historic value to our town.
Nice. And I go for the transitional commercial.
That right other side.
It's the one closest to
They
St.
just
Paul's.
painted it.
It's the white home.
Oh.
They just repainted it.
I prefer this one. Also need to go transitional commercial. I recommend a transitional commercial.
Okay. All right, I'm going to pass this statement around. Take a look at that, please.
So if we vote similarly like last time, we have to, whoever purchases has to keep the house, correct? That's part of the deal in the vote.
That's what this application was.
Well, because I'm only mentioning it because this proffer wasn't dated or notarized or anything, just,
Do we have anything actually in writing or anything where that is historic? I understand the 50 years or more, but is there anything, documentation actually written stating that it is a historic building?
I believe it's in our Haymarket in Transition book that was written on the town by previous residents. I can look into that and.
Would that hold up in court?
Probably not.
Probably
That's,
not.
I don't think so, that's why. Okay, I was just
Yeah.
curious on that, I'm just. All right, is this for 002 here?
Yes, sir.
Would you like for me to make the motion then, at this time?
Well, I'd like you to read, I mean,
Okay, I'll make
you
the mo-
can. We've all seen it.
Okay, well, I make a motion to move rezoning application ZTA 2017-002 to amend the zoning map for 14841 Washington Street and 6802 St. Paul Drive forward to the town council with a recommendation of denial for B1 zoning district and a recommendation to transitional commercial.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, discussion.
I just feel that the house, the proffer statement, basically impacts the buyer very negatively. I know the house has been recently repainted, but I think it limits the buyer too much.
How can a potential buyer, without even having an inspection of that property, be responsible for assuming the upkeep of that particular house? It would be
A financial endeavor of true love.
unbelievably
So,
detrimental to.
That's why I'm saying I'm not sure legally that letter would do anything. I don't believe, I don't know, I'm not an attorney.
All right. And I think, being in real estate myself and looking at documents like this, I think you could find attorneys who would say it would be, and you would find attorneys who would say it's not notarized, it's
Not dated.
not dated, you know,
There's nothing, yeah.
but it was submitted as part of this packet.
Yeah.
And it's not up to us to change it. We can only act upon what was presented. And obviously, the applicant felt it was important. So if they want to make it more restrictive for a potential buyer, then to me, that's their right. All right, any other discussion? All right, let's do a roll call. We got a second, correct?
Yes.
All right, so let's do a roll call vote, please.
Hanky? Yes. Passanello?
yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
And Carroll?
No.
J. Carroll?
No.
Shannon?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to Dog's Day Out informational report.
The informational report that's in the packet next was in response to Mr. Carroll requesting more information on the April 2016 Planning Commission meeting. The Paynes came to that meeting and introduced themselves and their ideas and goals and plans for their business here in town. And then once, after that, they started working with Marchant, and then this leads into the August 2016 report that I provided you all that runs through October of 2017 at the last meeting.
And I want to thank you for the work. You've put an incredible amount of work, and I know you've had to pick up a lot of pieces in a very short amount of time, so I really appreciate your efforts. All right, so we're looking now at ZTA 2017-003. It's on packet page 55.
If I could, if you guys look at package page 49, this is the letter that was written to me from the Paynes. They have drafted the zoning text amendment that they're requesting, and they went in great detail here through the definitions, adding in what they feel is necessary, and then highlighting here where it would go and what's affected, and then further entering in dog daycare definition as well as the use in the commercial uses by right in the B1 district. So that's what I received from the Paynes. And then following that, they gave their justification, starting on page 52. They went through why this would be a good change, how it may negatively impact, and then they also went through the video recording information that they shared with us a couple meetings ago as well. And then on page 55, you'll have my staff report located there. In the staff report, I have recommended that the accessory apartment definition would be a recommended change. We currently have accessory apartment listed in our B1. However, our definition doesn't exactly outline or include uses that are in the commercial district. This was previously in our zoning text ordinance before the updates were made in June. And so this change would just clarify that an accessory apartment is allowed in the commercial district on the second floor. I do recommend that the Planning Commission and the Council consider the zoning text amendment for the dog daycare center, taking into account noise abatement options, performance standards, the number of permanent dogs, the time of day or night, and the overnight boarding. So all the things that we've heard in the public hearings and we've seen over the course of the previous public hearings.
Okay. All right, discussion.
I don't think there's anyone that this impacts more than Madhu and myself. Anyone in this building or has been in this building, because we live in Sherwood Forest. I've talked to quite a few of our neighbors, probably 12 or so of the 30 homes there. I talked to the Baileys that live next door, who were against it, for it. The gentleman across the street, and I forgot his name. I've met with no one that really had any issues. The one doctor that spoke first time this came up, I don't believe he resides in that home. I believe they sold. I'm not sure, but I haven't seen him. I think he lives closer. I think he sold. I got to tell you, to say that they've done their due diligence is an understatement. It truly is. I believe I certainly had my doubts at the one meeting, a couple of meetings ago, when I kind of threw a little curveball there when I said I don't recall saying that there would be a lot of dogs overnight. Emily was kind enough to provide us the, basically exactly, she pulled back everything, and I went back and looked as well. I don't recall a large number, but I think it was clear, at least with what I went back to see, that, it was going to be boarding as well. I don't recall the number of them, but I do recall where they said, especially during the holidays, it would be a higher volume for obvious reasons. I have studied this packet, again, passing that location probably 4 or 5 times a day. I've given it a lot of thought. My biggest concern is not noise, because there is no noise issue. If you have been to Ashburn to the I guess that's a dog stay out too or whatever, there is no noise. You can't, of course, they don't have outdoor dogs either, as we were talking earlier. But with the baffling that they put up in those walls, the Baileys who live next door will not hear dogs barking. I'm confident of that. Therefore, just considering everything and everything that we've discussed since that April, I am certainly not opposed to going forward.
All right, thank you. Mr. Carroll?
I tend to agree with Steve. I guess my question again is one going back to, once we have a B1 commitment in this particular residential area, are we opening the door for other B1 places which will have by right uses, which may impact negatively, especially on residential areas? Both Nadu and Steve have expressed confidence that this is not going to impact them negatively, and you don't feel that the neighborhood is going to be
Traffic is going to be the biggest issue, and I don't think it'll be.
So that is my biggest concern, and then traffic, obviously. And we did have the chief of police come and say he would never, say no. He would never say never, based on his feelings about the traffic.
All right.
I'm just going to take this in 2 parts. The dwelling unit, the accessory apartment, I went through it, and, the term ancillary means providing necessary support for the primary activities. That's what we had asked the Paynes. It's very clear. It's a very clear definition. I like the definition. I had no concerns with that at all. I had concerns with the other part, with the 85 dogs and the kennel definition. And then I've gone back over all of the notes, and I think that you've been in some ways a victim of inconsistent direction from the staff, with transition in the staff, different leadership. Sometimes when I read the notes, it seems that the communication wasn't clear even to me. It could be taken in different ways, all of our communication. Because I'm definitely troubled with it. I see it as a kennel, but I see it also as a new definition here. Marchand spoke tonight, our former planning commission person, in terms of a new definition for a new inclusive definition. So all those things taken into consideration, I am definitely going to approve it, I think, or ask it to go forward, because of so many variables that bother me, really. The clear winner for me is the ancillary apartment. The other, I have mixed feelings about, but I think I have to vote yes.
Okay. Thank you. Ma'am?
No, I'm happy with the ancillary use, because that's part of the business and what you need there. I know that the dogs that are part of your care are the ones that are going to be, staying overnight. So it's one big, I guess, dog-happy family, which I think is a good thing. I think that in doggy daycare, I think we're coming into the 21st century, because it is new. And I think back in the day when we didn't have anything, child daycare, nobody, had that. And now doing doggy daycare makes a lot of sense because so many people now feel that their dogs are their family, which they are. So, I vote yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I talked to like 5 my neighbors. In the beginning, they were kind of okay if dog is there, it's barking. When you're walking and it's bothers and no, then later on, everybody said, okay, if that's everything is soundproof and noise doesn't come out, they said we are okay with it. But they had one question: when the business comes in there, when our sidewalk will be done? They're asking, when the sidewalk will be done in that side. Down the road it will be. I told them that. So I'm okay with the dog daycare in here, in the neighbor.
All right, any other discussion? And I think these folks have done everything we've asked them, and I think they've gone way above and beyond. I always kind of laugh with traffic. Every project that comes before us is traffic, but every one of us sitting up here are going to go to our home tonight that there were citizens spoke out about our subdivisions that's going to create traffic. I remember when Green Hill Crossing was built, your all's was a big old hill, big old field we used to sleigh ride on. Mine was the Harover property. I remember helping them clean out. I'm not going to waste any of your time, but the bottom line is traffic's traffic. And if we're going to grow this town, we're going to have more traffic unless we go to horse and buggy. I, too, like the ancillary use. I think it's time we let them get on doing what they want to do, and they can actually start making money instead of spending it. So I'll just leave it at that. All right. Do we have any more discussion? All right. Do we have a recommendation?
I move the Planning Commission refer zoning text amendment application ZTA number 2017-003 to amend the zoning and subdivision ordinance forward to the town council with a recommendation of approval.
Thank you, sir.
Second that.
All right. All right, we've had enough discussion. Let's do a roll call vote, please.
I second.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Passanello?
Yes.
Cottle?
Yes.
M. Carroll?
Yes.
J. Carroll?
Yes.
Shannon?
Yes.
I always have to have drama over there. I'm just kidding you. All right. New business is getting old, so let's move on. Old business, Planning Commission liaison. Who would like to be our liaison to
I'm kind of busy until April, but I will go ahead and do later.
Okay. Do we have a second on that?
I second.
All right. Any discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you, Panthy.
Thank you. Appreciate you stepping up. All right. Town planner update, ma'am.
Not much of an update since we last met on the 18th. We were kind of busy here with the holidays and some closures and just housekeeping stuff around the office. The rezonings and the zoning text amendment applications were kind of our big things. We have not had an ARB meeting since then, so I also don't have an update for that. I have reached out to VDOT on some questions. I'm awaiting a response from Tina. And as for the right turn lane further down outside of town and the sidewalks over past Jefferson Street Bridge, that way I have not yet received an answer from the county, so I'm working on that, and hopefully by our next meeting we'll know a little bit more.
All right.
Did you have the meeting on December 20th about the fairgrounds? did that meeting actually occur? I think the last time that was.
Correct.
There was a possibility.
Yes. So we had a meeting. They just kind of updated us a little bit more on what they're planning with their site plan that they're going to submit on the 8th, which is this coming Monday. We have a joint public hearing for the special use permit, a medical office down in the Foster's building. They will also, the Melodon Development Group will be in attendance. They're going to do a presentation to the town council. So I invite all of you to, if you can, hang out in the audience and see their presentation. You're more than welcome to. But they just gave us a brief update on what they're planning.
All right, thank you. Sir, town council update?
We had a very short meeting. One of the things that, and I apologize I didn't bring my notes, but I know one of the things that I brought up was just the survey that's been done for the possibility of a bridge over the railroad tracks. The survey was completed. In discussion with one of the other senior VDOT reps, the study that VDOT is doing, and I'd say I'm part of VDOT, but I'm not part of the study, is for a two-lane bridge. Just my opinion. That's a bottleneck, even worse than what we're having now. So I think VDOT's going to be working, I assume, with the county, or maybe even the federal side of the house, to try to get additional funds to make it four-lane. And that's, I don't have a time frame of when that's going to happen. They just did the study for it, though. They did the survey for it and all that. That was pretty much all I remember that we really brought up there.
Okay. All right, ARV, Architects Review Board. I'm assuming we won't have any update since they didn't meet. All right.
No update since we didn't have a meeting. We do have a meeting coming up in January on the 17th for a demolition application down near the railroad tracks here on Jefferson Street. The home is 6801 Jefferson Street, I believe. So we'll be discussing that at that meeting. It's the only update. We're still working on our gateway signs, but we do not have any firm plans quite yet.
All right, and then next Monday at 7 o'clock on the 8th, we're doing the joint public hearing with the town council.
Correct.
So they'll open it, then we'll come up, and then go back down. Okay? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
We'll make the motion that we adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, good night, stay warm.
Stay warm.